Hello again, everybody. A few of you have been reaching out to me telling me different topics that you want to learn more about or that you think would be helpful for others to know about. One of which I'm going to cover today is carbs versus sugar. If you've watched my previous videos, you've heard me talk about carbs, and some of you may wonder why I'm not talking about grams of sugar, but all carbs turn to sugar. So you don't think about when you're eating, being diabetic, or if you're not diabetic, you just think you have to stay away from all the sugary type foods like cakes and candies and pastries and things like that, soda. But in actuality, almost everything we eat has carbs, which makes it extremely difficult to eat as a diabetic. Mostly we can eat vegetables, but some vegetables have carbs, such as potatoes. That's a big one because that's starch, and those turn to sugar. Dark green leafy vegetables. Corn has a little bit of carbs. Like the more starchy vegetables, like I mentioned. But sometimes we don't think about the other things that have carbs that we don't, like I said, we don't think about it. The stuff that's not considered a sweet food. I brought a few things just to show you, demonstrate some of the things I'm talking about as far as carbs versus sugar. As I mentioned before, I love crackers. So here I have Ritz whole wheat crackers. And if you read on the back, it says, let's see if I can get this to work here. If you look at the total carbs, it says 10 grams. So that 10 grams is for a serving size, which is 5 crackers. But if you look down at the sugars, it says 2 grams. So 2 grams of sugar per 5 crackers. But really you need to be looking at the total carbohydrates, which is 10. If you're calculating just for the sugars, that's not going to be good for you. So that's just one example. Another example I have here is peanut butter. I love peanut butter. Again, total carbs, it says 8 grams and sugar says 4 grams. And that's per serving size, which is 2 tablespoons. And really you have to pay attention to serving size, because sometimes you don't realize how small or how big a serving size is. You think it's for the whole package, like if it's a candy bar, and sometimes the serving size will say 2, which you think it's for the entire candy bar. Liquids, usually the serving size is 8 ounces, which I showed you guys this in the first video. Here it says that the total carbohydrates are 19 grams and the sugars are 12 grams. And then you get into the more sugary stuff, and most of the carbs come from sugar, such as this Cherry 7-Up. This is not mine, by the way. But it says 38 grams of sugar and 39 grams of carbs. So there's only one carb that doesn't come from sugar in this drink. And that's how most of the more sugary things are. Another thing you may not think about that has carbs is milk. I never considered that milk would have carbs in it. But generally per serving size, which is 8 ounces, which who drinks 8 ounces of anything? Hardly anybody. I mean, that's just like a small juice glass. Is usually around 12 or 13 grams of carbs. So taking into consideration, you're probably going to drink a pint glass worth or maybe even more. You're going to have to double that amount because of the serving size. Another big one, which I am going to touch on in the next week or so, is bread. Because there's so many different breads, and you really have to pay attention to serving size on breads, because some say per 1 slice, some say for 2 slices. And if you think it's for 2 slices and it's really 1 slice, you end up with twice as many carbs as you think you have. But I'm going to cover that in its own separate video. But even, like I have this bread here, it's a multi-grain, wheat bread. Looks like it's good for you. And the serving size in the back is just for 1 slice of bread. And it says total carbohydrates, 25 grams. And sugar, 4 grams. So if you're just looking at that sugar content, 4 grams, which sounds great, but again, it's only for 1 slice, so that would be double to 8. But really you need to take into consideration the total carbs, which for 1 slice is 25, so if you're having a sandwich, that's 50 grams of carbs. Generally, you want to consume about 60 grams of carbs per meal if you want to maintain your weight. If you're wanting to lose weight, then you want to consume less grams of carbs, and that goes for anybody, diabetic or not. So if you're looking at fat content, which of course that you need to take that into consideration, as well as calories, but also you need to be looking at carbs if you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, or maintain weight. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and kind of explain a little bit more why I talk about carbs versus sugar, because it is a huge difference. And as I mentioned, carbs turn to sugar, so that's really what you need to be looking at, is the total carbs and the serving size. Extremely important. Because sometimes you think, like these, the crackers I showed you, you know that these are the little snack packs. So if you're looking at the back and you're reading the 10 grams for total carbs and you're thinking that's for the whole pack, you're wrong, because it's actually triple that amount, because each pack has about 15 crackers, and the serving size here is 5 crackers. So if you eat a whole pack, which doesn't seem like a whole